Gochujang is a viscous fermented paste known for its spiciness, savoriness, and sweetness. It originates from South Korea, where it remains a popular condiment and ingredient in various national foods, such as bibimbap, tteokbokki, and various barbecued meats. In fact, it is so popular amongst South Koreans that 21% of South Koreans take some with them when they travel abroad. In recent years, it has been gaining popularity on a global scale. Typically, it is bought in tubs, but a less viscous variety coming in squeeze bottles is also available. It is not known exactly where in South Korea gochujang originated from, but the place that is known for making the highest quality gochujang is the county of Suncheon. The reasons for this is that there it's made in the early mid-fall as opposed to the spring, allowing for fermentation throughout the winter, the high quality of the area's water, and since the area is foggy for almost 2.5 months per year, the air has a high water content, which helps with fermentation and bacterial growth. Suncheon is so proud of their gochujang that every year they host the Jang Festival, seen in the picture on the bottom right. While it's technically a celebration of all fermented foods and pastes, the gochujang is the clear star of the show. In fact, the part of Suncheon the festival takes place in is known as the Gochujang village. The exact time in which gochujang was first invented is also a mystery. Its first use as a food is recorded in documents around the 16th and 17th centuries, though it was mentioned in a book dating back to the year 850. Cultivation of gochujang's primary ingredient, gochu, the Korean red pepper, dates back to the times of the Three Kingdoms, as early as 37 BC. Thus, the possibility arises that gochujang has been a part of Korean diets for roughly 2,000 years. Gochujang has also been known to be a health food. In fact, the book from the year 850 that gochujang was documented in was about health. It is credited with saving the life of King Yongjo of Joseon, pictured to the right, back in 1748. And though much of its health benefits have been disputed, it definitely has some notable ones. Its most notable health benefit is that it aids with indigestion. It's also been proven to fight obesity and diabetes, and it is a good source of both beta-carotene and vitamin C. Additionally, gochujang must be made with gochu grown on the Korean peninsula. Attempts have been made to make gochujang with spicy red peppers from Thailand, India, and Mexico, with spiciness levels ranging from 500 to 1,000 times spicier than gochu, but they were all deemed to be too spicy. Speaking personally, due to its comparatively mild level of heat and hints of sweetness and umami, for people who do not think they like spicy foods and or do not think they tolerate them that well, gochujang is a great way to get yourself acclimated.
So the process of manufacture for gochujang is fairly simple for what we've seen. So we'll start with a breakdown that gochujang is generally made from the following: red pepper powder at 25%, glutinous rice at 22%, salt at 12.8%, meju powder at 5.5%, malt powder at 5%, and water at 29%. And do note that gochujang can also be made with barley, sweet potato, and corn. But because of availability of glutinous rice, especially in South Korea, it's the more favored type of gochujang to be made. So there are 3 major steps in the manufacturing of gochujang: the preparation of meju, mashing, and fermentation. So what is meju? Meju is cooked fermented soybeans that are traditionally fermented in blocks throughout the winter to make different types of jangs. And jangs are just different like things made with soybean. Like you can make soy sauce with jang as well, but that's a whole different process. For gochujang in particular, meju blocks must be dried and powdered before using them in the process. And so meju powder is then used similarly to how you would use a starter or like a yeast packet, and it helps to aid in the fermentation process during when making gochujang. So for the mashing, malt and glutinous rice powder are mixed and boiled for 30 minutes, and they then go to cool down to 50 degrees Celsius and maintaining that temperature for 5 hours to start saccharification. So after they saccharification is completed, salt, meju powder, and then the gochugaru will be added. And then we move to the final step of fermentation. After mixing the ingredients all together, gochujang is placed traditionally into stoneware jars and is stored in a cool, dark place. And gochujang will then ferment anywhere between 3 months to 2 years.
As you now know, gochujang is a red and thick paste, which is mostly owed to the high amount of saccharified grain starch, be it from rice or barley. There is also a significant amount of salt, powdered meju, and water that is used in its preparation. Meju is a naturally fermented soybean which acts as the starting culture. The mixture of these ingredients starts the fermentation and aging process, with the microorganisms getting protein from the soybeans and carbohydrates from the rice. There are two major types of gochujang available, which are large-scale industrial gochujang and traditional homemade gochujang. The industrial gochujang is produced in a high quality controlled environment with starting cultures of Aspergillus and Bacillus. Homemade gochujang relies on traditional fermentation techniques and simple equipment. Its fermentation can take 1 to 2 years. The traditional fermentation can be influenced by factors such as the quality of the meju and weather conditions. Studies found that the pH range of gochujang tends to be between 3.57 to 4.98. They also showed that the salt content was between 3.44 and 12.68%. In traditional gochujang, a range of 0 to 5% alcohol content was found. Ethanol content was the highest, with a range of 0 to 4.9% and a mean of 1.53%. Methanol was present in trace amounts with a mean of 0.004 to 0.005%. Samples were also tested for propanol, butanol, and pentanol. They were detected in a range of 0 to 0.016%. Zygosaccharomyces and Saccharomyces species produced 1.6 to 3.2% of the ethanol. Some companies also supplement the gochujang with ethanol during packaging. The acidity, salinity, and alcohol help to control microbial action. Many different types of yeast were found when samples of traditional gochujang were tested. The majority contain Zygosaccharomyces rushi, while Stomarella lactis condensii, Wickerhamomyces calicellus, Claudiosporium welwitschikola, and Picky membrane fascians were also found. The measure used may have caused this variation. Additionally, commercially produced gochujang tends to have an absence of yeast. This might be due to the use of a microbial control system. The quality of gochujang is thought to be strongly affected by the quality of the meju, and the Bacillus species has been identified as the most important bacteria in regards to the fermentation. Bacillus subtilis is the most common bacteria in Korean fermented food. The bacteria appear in higher numbers in yeast, which might be due to the antibiotics that the bacillus produce. Contaminants are a concern, and Kim et al. Reported the presence of Bacillus cereus in 9 industrial samples and 23 traditional samples of gochujang. 3 of the traditional samples contained levels higher than the safety limit. The source of contamination may be raw materials or cross-contamination during fermentation. As with any fermentation, the need for proper sterilization of materials is important.